Every year, millions of people around the world look at American homes today. And they all seem to ask the exact same question. Why are they built like that? Compared to the thick brick walls and concrete roofs found in many parts of the world. American houses often seem surprisingly light and thin compared to traditional masonry structures. To some people, they even look temporary, as if they were never meant to stay.
It is very easy to assume that they are simply built to a lower standard.
But that common assumption misses a much bigger and more complex historical story. Because the goal of an American home was never just to survive for many centuries. It was specifically designed to solve a completely different set of social problems. These problems were created by geography, massive population growth, and evolving economics. How do you build millions of quality homes for a rapidly growing nation? The ultimate answer was not to build stronger or heavier houses manually.
The answer was to develop much smarter and more efficient industrial systems. Once you understand that system, you will realize these homes are not weak. They are actually optimized for a completely different set of cultural priorities.
So before deciding whether these classic homes are better or worse than others,
we first need to answer a much more important and fundamental question.
What does it actually mean for a home to truly last? When people say a house lasts a long time, they imagine one thing.
A building that remains standing and unchanged for many generations to come.
Thick walls and solid foundations that seem to defy the passage of time. A roof that barely changes over decades of harsh sun and rain.
But is that really the best way to measure a home's lifespan?
Imagine two houses standing side by side for over a century.
The first is built from stone and brick, remaining structurally identical.
The second is built from timber, but it has been upgraded many times. Parts of it have been replaced, expanded, and modernized over the years.
Which one of these two structures actually lasted longer in the end?
The answer depends entirely on what you mean by the word lasting.
Engineers often separate a building into many different and complex systems.
First, there is the structure, the skeleton that holds everything up.
Then there is the roof, protecting the interior from the elements.
Inside the walls, we find the plumbing system, carrying water everywhere. Next is the electrical wiring, powering every modern device we use. And finally, the insulation, keeping the warmth inside during the winter. Each of these systems has a very different expected lifespan. A house can remain structurally sound while everything inside has been modernized. In other words, A home is not a single object frozen in time. It is a living system that evolves with the people living inside. Families grow, needs change, and lifestyles inevitably shift over time. Technology changes faster than ever, and building standards constantly improve. A house that never changes may survive physically, but it may fail.
It may no longer fit the way that people actually live today.
That is why, in many parts of the world, the question is different.
It is no longer just, how long can this house stand? It is also, how easily can this house adapt to new needs? That difference in philosophy explains far more than the materials used. It explains why two countries can end up building very different homes.
To understand the American home, we must go back to a different era.
In the decades following World War II, the country was changing rapidly.
Millions of soldiers returned home, and young families were growing very fast.
Cities expanded outward, and the demand for housing exploded across the nation.
Everything had to be done as quickly and efficiently as possible.
The price had to be something that ordinary families could actually afford.
In that situation, every single construction decision mattered for the future.
A house that took twice as long to build meant fewer families.
A house that cost significantly more meant homeownership would be out of reach.
Builders were not simply asking, what is the strongest house possible? They were asking, what is the most practical house for everyone? Wood was widely available across almost all of North America back then.
It was easier to transport over long distances and easier to cut. It was much easier to assemble using simple tools and labor.
Most importantly, it was easier to repair and modify as needs changed. Instead of a finished monument, the American home became something that evolves. Add a room, replace a wall, or remodel the kitchen completely. Finish the basement and expand the living space when life changes. None of these critical design decisions happened by pure accident. They were the result of designing for flexibility instead of permanence.
Over time, this system became the standard for the entire country. It balanced speed, affordability, and adaptability better than any other alternative. It is tempting to compare homes the same way we compare products. But houses do not work that way. Every house is a compromise.
Every decision solves one problem while creating another new one.
Imagine you choose thicker concrete walls for your new home.
your home may become much more resistant to fire and noise. But those benefits come at a very high economic cost. Construction becomes slower, and materials become much heavier to move.
Renovations become major construction projects that take many months.
Now imagine a lighter structure that is much faster to build.
It is easier to modify and easier to repair after use. Airplanes are built from lightweight materials for a specific mission.
Bridges move in the wind instead of resisting it completely.
Every country builds homes that reflect its own unique priorities. Climate, resources, labor, and the way people expect to live. What looks like a weakness may actually be a strength.
A home is part of a much larger and complex system.
Neither approach is universally right, and neither is universally wrong.
Every building tells a story about the society that built it.
Sometimes the strongest system is the one that can keep adapting.
It shapes the roads we drive and the cities we call home.
Next, we will explore why American homes are so surprisingly affordable.